King bought the perfect plant. Great growth, awesome roots, 2 stems facing the same direction. He brought it home and put it in the perfect spot for it to die in the next 6 months. Here are some things he can do immediately to make sure his plant survives and thrives. King does not have the biggest windows, and they face the northwest, so he's made the right decision to add some grow lights to his setup. He has 2 hanging lights for his birds of paradise plants, and they're absolutely needed, especially for the larger white flowering ones. So the obvious answer should be to place his Monstera near his grow lights. So he did, but I'm pretty sure that his Monstera is actually getting no benefits from these lights right now. He's already noticing that his soil is taking more than a week to dry out, and that's a long time for a plant at this size. To compare, here's a small Monstera Thai constellation that I've added to my collection. While I have these great south-facing floor-to-ceiling windows, I also have this east-facing window behind me. I thought because I was getting light from the east and amazing light from the south, I could get away with placing my Monstera on this small table in the corner. But as you can see, my plant is clearly doing worse with the leaves shrinking and fewer fenestrations, a clear indication that it's not getting what it needs. While to the human eye, this corner seems bright enough, but actually the plant is getting over 90% worse usable lighting. Something needs to change immediately. Generally, I tell people not to mess with their Monstera as soon as they get it. Really, you should only be figuring out your watering schedule and slowly giving your plant more light. Unless you got the plant on clearance and there's clearly something wrong with it, you really don't need to do much in the next 3 to 4 months. But King's Monstera has been holding on to water for more than a week, and that's a lot for a plant this size. You want your plant to have a relatively fast wet and dry cycle, so changing your soil to something that retains less moisture can be really beneficial. He could add orchid bark, large perlite, or even cocoa chunks to help it retain less moisture. But obviously, that's not going to solve his main problem: light. So what can we do? The way I see it, King has 5 choices for a more permanent spot for his Monstera. We already know this first spot by the northwest window doesn't get the best light. It also faces his neighbor a few feet away. To make matters worse, his home is close to the street in a densely populated area, and it's really not safe for him to leave his blinds open all day while he goes to work. A spot on this coffee table would look great while the plant is still pretty small, and it might get a little bit of side lighting from his grow light setup. Of course, under either grow light would be the best place, but I don't think he wants to get rid of one of his birds of paradise plants. So maybe his best option is to place it near one of the grow lights, maybe raised up on a stool like this. After I explained these options to King, I encouraged him to get a light meter to make sure that these were actually good choices. Most light meters measure in lux or foot candles, and for Monstera, you should be aiming for above 400 foot candles for amazing growth. Anything under 100 foot candles, your plant is in danger of just slowly dying. Let's just say I was shocked with what he showed me. Obviously, his bird of paradise plants are in great positions underneath the grow light, but the spot on his coffee table was only showing 2.9 foot candles. And raising the Monstera up on a stool near the grow light was only producing a measly 15.2 foot candles. Nowhere near good enough if you want that great fenestrated growth. This made me question my own plants. Were they even getting the light that they needed? While my plants get super high 2,000 foot candles for most of the morning, I actually measured and they're barely making that 100 foot candle cutoff. I'm always shocked to see how dark the corners of your home can be. So King and I are both going with additional grow lights for our collection. And now we're getting much closer to that 400 foot candle range for amazing growth. We both went with this downward facing floor lamp style for a nicer look. I'm using my favorite Soltech Vita bulb for their amazing warm color temperature, so I can give my plants what they need without sacrificing the aesthetics in my home. Get 15% off the Soltech Vita bulb by using my code KTP at checkout. And this is what my plant looks like a few months later, with a new leaf on the way.